Imagine two people, same Social Security check, arriving on the same day every month, but their lives could not look more different. One of them sits at her kitchen table on the first of every month, doing the same calculation she always does, trying to figure out which bill gets pushed back a little. She stopped going to her book club because gas felt like a luxury. She skipped her granddaughter's birthday last spring because between the gas, the tolls, and everything else, she simply couldn't make the numbers work. She's not careless with money. She's not making bad decisions. She's just tired. And she doesn't quite understand why the retirement she planned for feels like something that's always just out of reach. The other one pours her coffee in the morning and walks out to her porch. She's got the same check coming in. She just lives somewhere different. She has money left at the end of every month. She took a weekend trip last spring. She invited her grandkids to visit and didn't have to think twice about whether she could afford to feed them for a few days. She's not wealthy. She just chose the right state. That's what today's video is really about. Not lists and rankings for the sake of it. Not tax codes and financial jargon. It's about the real daily difference that where you live makes when Social Security is your main income. By the time you finish watching, you're going to know exactly which 10 states let that check go furthest in 2026, why some of the most obvious choices aren't always the right ones, and which #1 state is quietly becoming one of the smartest retirement moves in the country. Welcome to Settled Living, where we help real people make smarter retirement decisions with the income they actually have. Before we go further, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We put out retirement and relocation content every week, and we don't want you to miss it. Now let's count them down. Number 10 is Alabama, and if you've never seriously considered it, give this 60 seconds because the numbers are worth hearing. Alabama is the third most affordable state for retirement in 2026. It doesn't tax Social Security at all, and it carries the second lowest property tax rate in the entire country at just 0.37%. For someone living primarily on Social Security, lower property taxes aren't an abstract statistic. They're the difference between having spending money and not having it. Picture a retired postal worker named James, who spent his whole career outside Atlanta. He moved to a small city in northern Alabama when he retired, and his rent dropped by over $300 a month. Almost immediately. His grocery bills fell. He stopped doing mental math every time he needed to fill his gas tank. He told a friend it was the first time in years that retirement actually felt like retirement. The honest trade-off is the summer heat, which is real and intense, and some rural parts of the state have thin healthcare access, but near a larger city, Alabama delivers affordability that's genuinely hard to match at this price point. But this next state may surprise you, because it got quietly better for retirees just a couple of years ago, and most people still haven't caught up to why it matters. Number 9 is Missouri. Missouri completely eliminated its tax on Social Security benefits in 2024, which means every dollar of every check stays in your pocket with no state deduction. The 2026 Motley Fool study that surveyed 2,000 retired Americans ranked Missouri among the 5 most affordable states in the country for retirees. Cities like Springfield and Joplin offer real healthcare networks, walkable neighborhoods, and active senior communities at a fraction of the cost you'd pay for the same quality of life on either coast. Picture a retired factory worker named Daniel, who spent 30 years in Chicago and moved to the Lake of the Ozarks area after retirement. His housing costs dropped significantly. He found a great primary care doctor 10 minutes from his house, and he says the fishing alone was worth the entire move. Winters are cold and real, and that matters more the older you get. But Missouri's combination of genuine affordability and zero tax on Social Security benefits makes it one of the most well-rounded options at this end of the list. At number 8, Arkansas. Social Security is fully exempt from state taxation. Housing is among the most affordable in the entire nation, and the Ozarks region offers a quality of daily life that genuinely surprises people who've never spent time there. Picture a retired nurse named Patricia who spent 40 years working night shifts in Memphis and just wanted mountains, quiet, and a front porch. She found all three in a small Arkansas town near the Buffalo National River for less than she'd been paying in suburban Memphis. She said the first morning she woke up to that view, she cried a little, and not because she was sad. The trade-off is that some rural areas have limited access to specialists, so doing your homework on nearby healthcare infrastructure matters before you settle. But for retirees who value peace, scenery, and genuine affordability, Arkansas consistently shows up in the data and in the stories people tell about this chapter, going better than they expected. Now here's where this list starts getting into names you already know. And the first one delivers something that a lot of coastal retirees discover only after they've left somewhere that disappointed them. Number 7 is Mississippi. The numbers here are blunt and worth sitting with. Mississippi has the lowest cost of living in the entire country, and Social Security is exempt from state taxation. Housing here is among the most affordable anywhere in America, and the gap between what a fixed Social Security income covers in Mississippi versus what it covers in a state like Connecticut or New Jersey is not small. It's transformative. Picture a retired couple named Roy and Helen who sold their Connecticut home and moved to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Their combined Social Security check, which had barely covered rent and groceries in Connecticut, now paid for their mortgage, utilities, groceries, and a monthly date night with money still sitting untouched at the end of every month. That shift felt almost unreal to them because nothing about their income had changed, just the zip code. The honest trade-offs are worth naming. Mississippi ranks lower on some healthcare quality measures, and summer heat and humidity are not mild, but near the Gulf Coast's medical networks, the pure affordability here is something worth taking seriously. Which state are you considering for your retirement? Drop it in the comments right now. We read every single one, and the answers from this community are always worth scrolling through. Number 6 is South Carolina, and this is the state that's quietly become the go-to alternative for retirees who wanted Florida, but started questioning whether Florida still delivers the same deal it used to. Social Security is completely exempt from state income tax. The state offers retirement income deductions beyond that. Coastal communities here offer waterfront living at prices that look like a genuine bargain compared to similar views in Florida or the Northeast. And South Carolina's Medicare Advantage market keeps healthcare options competitive and broadly accessible across most of the state. Picture Frank and Norma, a retired couple who spent 15 winters as Florida snowbirds before watching their condo's insurance costs and HOA fees spiral into something unrecognizable. They sold, moved to a South Carolina coastal town, and found a neighborhood of people who had made the exact same calculation for the exact same reasons. The trade-off is real. Coastal areas still carry hurricane exposure and insurance costs have climbed, so settling slightly inland makes a meaningful difference to the monthly budget. But as a total package for Social Security recipients looking for warm weather and low costs, South Carolina keeps rising on every serious list. Number 5 is Tennessee. And if you've spent any time researching retirement destinations, this one won't shock you, but the specific numbers are worth revisiting. 0 state income tax, Social Security exempt, pensions exempt, a median property tax bill of around $1,400 a year, and cities ranging from Nashville's energy to Chattanooga's livability to the eastern mountain communities that make people stop looking once they find them. Picture a retired school teacher named Carol who moved from suburban New Jersey to a town outside Knoxville. Her Social Security check, which had covered almost nothing in New Jersey, suddenly felt like enough for the first time in her retirement. She jokes that she got a raise without changing a single thing about her income. Summers are warm and humid across much of the state, and tornado risk is real in the west and middle. but Tennessee's combination of zero income tax, below average costs, and genuine lifestyle variety has kept it near the top of nearly every serious retirement ranking for years. But the next state offers something that most of the entries so far simply cannot deliver on their own. And it's the reason retirees from high-tax states have been heading there in growing numbers. Number 4 is Florida. The headline is familiar, but the specifics matter for Social Security recipients specifically. No income tax on anything. Social Security, pensions, retirement account withdrawals, none of it touched by the state. Florida also carries one of the largest Medicare Advantage markets in the country, creating competitive pricing and genuinely broad provider access for retirees on fixed incomes. And outside of South Florida, housing remains more attainable than most people coming from expensive markets assume. Picture a retired factory supervisor named George, who moved from suburban Detroit to a small Gulf Coast community. His Social Security check went from covering rent and not much else to covering rent, health care, groceries, and a weekly round of golf he'd dreamed about his entire career. The trade-offs are well documented and worth knowing. Hurricane risk is real. Homeowners insurance has climbed significantly in coastal areas, and some of the fastest-growing communities have developed congestion that affects daily quality of life in ways no photograph ever shows you. But for retirees who do their homework on location within the state, Florida still delivers the core of what made it famous. Now we're in the final stretch, and this is where the list shifts from recognizable names into discoveries. States that don't get the same headlines, but whose numbers make a genuinely compelling case for retirees willing to look somewhere less obvious. Number 3 is Wyoming, and this one tends to stop people mid-sentence when they hear the actual numbers. No income tax, no estate tax, a median property tax bill of just $1,600, one of the lowest in the country for any state with no income tax. Total combined state and local sales tax running at just 5.56%. For a retired couple living on Social Security, the total annual state and local tax burden here can run under $2,000. That number takes a moment to fully absorb. The landscape doesn't hurt either. Open skies, the Tetons on the horizon, Yellowstone within reach, mornings that make you understand why people spend their whole working lives imagining this place. Picture Bill and Sandra, who relocated from Illinois to a small Wyoming town after years of watching their property taxes take more and more of a budget that wasn't growing to match. The contrast was immediate and significant. The trade-offs deserve equal honesty. Winters are genuinely harsh and long. Healthcare access outside of Cheyenne and Casper can be limited, and Wyoming's rural character doesn't fit everyone's personality or needs. But on pure financial terms for a Social Security recipient, Wyoming puts together a case that's nearly impossible to argue against on the numbers alone. At number 2, Oklahoma. And before you skip past this one because it doesn't have the brand recognition of Tennessee or Florida, stay with it for a moment. Because what makes Oklahoma interesting isn't just where it is today. It's the direction it's actively choosing to move. Most states talk about making things easier for retirees. Oklahoma is actually building a structural framework designed to eventually eliminate state income tax altogether. House Bill 4072, signed into law in April 2026, created the Oklahoma Taxpayer Endowment Trust Fund, specifically to work toward that goal. That's not a promise yet, but for retirees planning 10 or 15 years ahead, the trajectory of a state matters just as much as today's snapshot. You're not just evaluating what things cost right now. You're evaluating whether a state is moving in a direction that could make your retirement easier over time. And right now, Oklahoma is already affordable, already exempt from Social Security taxation, and already drawing retirees who've done the math and liked what they found. Picture a retired teacher named Beverly who moved from Kansas City to a small Oklahoma town and found that the Social Security check that had barely covered rent in Missouri now covered rent, utilities, and a trip to see her daughter every other month, with enough left to feel like she was finally living forward instead of just holding on. The weather brings real tornado risk that anyone from calmer climates needs to factor in honestly, and public transit outside the cities is limited. But Oklahoma is no longer just a cheap place to live. It's a state actively trying to become one of the best financial environments for retirees in the country. And getting in ahead of that curve matters. And now, number 1. The state that barely showed up on most retirement shortlists a decade ago, that still surprises people when they first hear it. And that has earned the top position by doing something genuinely rare, putting the complete picture together in a way that actually works for people whose primary income is Social Security. That state is South Dakota. No income tax. Zero. Social Security, pensions, retirement account withdrawals, none of it touched by the state. Median home values sitting just above $312,000, well below national averages. One of the lowest overall tax burdens in the country across every single category. And in Sioux Falls, 2 nationally recognized hospital systems, Sanford Health and Avera, offering comprehensive specialty care that genuinely competes with what you'd find in cities 3 times the size. The community here has a quality that retirees consistently describe as something they didn't know they were missing until they found it. Genuinely safe, genuinely neighborly, moving at a pace that feels increasingly rare in a country that's been running faster and faster for a long time. Picture Tom and Beverly, who moved from suburban Chicago to Sioux Falls after years of watching Illinois property taxes take more and more from a fixed income that had nowhere left to stretch. Their Social Security checks, which had been stretched impossibly thin by Chicago's cost of living, suddenly covered everything they needed with enough left at the end of each month to start a small travel fund for the first time in their retirement. Tom said something to his daughter when she came to visit that stuck with her for a long time afterward. He said for the first time in years, money isn't the first thing he thinks about when he wakes up. That's not a small thing. That's actually the whole point. The honest trade-offs matter and deserve to be named. South Dakota winters are cold, long, and serious in ways that catch people off guard if they haven't experienced a real Midwest winter. Healthcare access in the rural western parts of the state can be genuinely limited. And if proximity to Sioux Falls isn't part of your plan, this needs real consideration. The cultural variety of a major metropolitan area simply doesn't exist here. But for Social Security recipients looking for the single state where their check goes furthest across every meaningful dimension, taxes, housing, daily costs, and quality healthcare in the primary city, South Dakota keeps earning this position. Let's come back to where we started. Those 2 retirees. Same check. Completely different lives. Because the difference between them was never about luck. The one who's always short chose a state where the math works against her. Not because she made a foolish decision, but because she made a default one. The kind most people make, staying where they are or going where everyone else goes without fully running the real numbers. The one with money left at the end of the month made a deliberate choice. She asked a question most people never fully answer before they choose where to retire. Not which state looks best in a photo, not which one is warmest, but where does my specific income actually support my specific life? That's the question worth carrying into your own planning. Because retirement isn't supposed to be something you survive on a fixed income. It's supposed to be the chapter where you finally get to live on your own terms. And the state you choose has more to do with whether that happens than almost any other single decision you'll make. If this video helped you get a little clearer on where that might be for you, please like it, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We'll have another one ready for you, and we will see you there.